And you're live.
Everyone, welcome to this episode of Sexistential Crisis. Today, we are talking about the 36 questions that lead to love. And I have, in addition to Dave, of course, two special guests here in studio with me, Rose Hackman and AM.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello there.
Thank you so much for joining me. You will remember AM was on our episode about the first dating checklist.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose joined us for emotional labor.
That's right.
And
Wow, those are two powerhouses coming together right there.
oh, you're telling me. Now, I just want to point out, I want to give a little preview to the audience. First of all, Dave and I had a long discussion prior to this episode about my tits. Dave, do you remember this?
No, I've completely forgotten every conversation we've ever had about your breasts.
Like,
I'm
have
absolutely
I
great.
thought, do you have breasts?
I've never even noticed.
I'm
Yeah.
not aware.
So,
It's not like the first time I saw something about nipples, I sent you the link.
which brings me to, Dave sent me this link, I think it was yesterday, to like these, what are they called?
Just nips.
Just nips. They are fake nipples. And they're used primarily, I think, for breast cancer survivors.
Yeah, reconstructive surgery and
yes.
that kind of thing. Absolutely, yeah.
But they're also for vanity. And they come in two sizes, just nips. They come in I'm a little cool and I'm in the fucking Arctic.
It's breezy.
Yeah.
It's breezy.
It's
and help,
frigid.
I'm locked in the freezer. Yeah,
Is that what it's the subtitle tag?
yeah, exactly. I'd like to catch your eyes and I'd like to poke them out. Those are the two sizes. Yeah,
I got the second pair. Of
course.
So,
of course you did.
and I wish to God they were here today because I would have worn them under this dress to poke.
I don't think they would have fit under that top. Just because
I know this is very tight.
Trick or treat.
or both.
Or
But
both.
they are coming, and actually, the founder of Just Nips has agreed to come on the show.
Awesome.
So
Very
we will
cool.
have her in November to talk more about the product. But I just wanted to give a little
Teaser.
That's going to be happening, and of course, there
Just
will be
the tip,
photos.
as it were.
just a little nippy
Just
tip.
a little.
Although, you know what? I think I figured something out today because I know my first thought was, well, why isn't she doing an edible version? Why would you not do that? So you can get away with doing cosmetic things because trademark, guess who owns that? Nabisco, the cheese nips, other nips,
Aren't those nibs?
Nips. No, they're nips. And so she probably can't do anything edible without coming under scrutiny from a trademark perspective.
Really? We'll
So
ask
that's
her.
one of the things I want to ask her about. Because
You've really been giving this a lot of thought.
I spend a lot of time thinking about boobs. It's not my fault. I'm a guy. It's what we do.
I mean, fair enough. Rose, I'm really glad to have you here today because I know that you have been regularly listening to the podcast.
Yes.
And every time we talk about it, you have mentioned my interactions with Dave.
I have. I think you guys have amazing chemistry. And it seems
Go on.
Agreed. Didn't I? And I said, I wish Dave was on it all the time.
Right.
Agreed.
I was traveling last month and I was listening to Sexistential Crisis and I felt like I was in the room and getting very excited about the impending romance.
Between me and
No
Dave.
pressure, no pressure. I'm just putting it out there.
I think we should give the people what they want. I'm just saying.
TBD.
Well,
I think you need to ask someone out, Dave, is what we're saying.
I mean, I feel like he does it a lot and Laura just ignores him. But I think that's the dynamic.
I know.
I believe we've covered this. Subtle is not one of my strong points. It's really not.
Right. She's not wrong. But
well, that brings me to the 36 questions.
so exciting.
Okay, so have any of you heard of this prior to me asking you to be on the show?
I had when you told me about it before, but not as of 3 weeks ago. I was unaware.
Rose,
I've done it before.
you've done it.
There was an episode of Chuck, which I'm currently burning through on Amazon Prime, where one of the fake books it was one of the plot points was the 100 questions That
Ooh.
played. It was 100 questions before you get to the altar, I think was the name of it.
Ooh, wow.
So that's yeah. I don't. Are these like multiple choice?
Well, so
Like,
this
can I
is
A B C A B A C?
no, actually, you can't. We're
The
you know
essay
what,
portion.
Dave. Whenever you decide to ask me out on our first date, we will do these questions.
Gotcha.
I'm listening.
Go on.
Can we all tune in?
yeah, the date will be live.
Yeah, we'll
here
bring
in
the remote
studio.
gear. It'll be
Right.
great. Lavalier mics. It'll be perfect.
Really,
Great.
it'll be really gonna be highly romantic. Totally wonderful. So the 36 questions that lead to love. This is actually a study, and these were in the New York Times. That's where you can actually, if you Google it, there's a New York Times article about it. The idea is that mutual vulnerability fosters closeness. To quote the study's authors, one key pattern associated with the development of a close relationship among peers is sustained, escalating, reciprocal, personal self-disclosure. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable with another can be exceedingly difficult. So this exercise forces the issue. So there are these 36 questions. They are set up in 3 different sets. The first set is pretty easy. I'll read you a couple. First one, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? The second one, would you like to be famous? In what way? They're, kind of like easing you in. The second set gets a little more intense. What is the greatest accomplishment of your life is one of them. What is your most treasured memory? And then into the third set.
Pretty light standard stuff so far.
Oh, wow, this is okay. The third set, make 3 to we statements about yourself and the person across from you. Mm-hmm. For instance, we are both in this room feeling ... Or if I were going to become a close friend with your partner, if you were going to become a close friend with your partner, please share what would be important for him or her to know. And stuff like that. And so I undertook the 36 questions that lead to love, not once, but twice.
Different people.
Different people in the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to share about this experience and have you ladies here, and Dave.
And Dave.
And Dave. To get like your feedback on it and just like hear your perspective, because I think it's really interesting.
Now, again, did you have a handheld recorder in the middle of the table while you were going through this?
No.
I feel like that would have made it better. We could have just like had sound bites and playback. And
I have to do it one more time. Okay, clearly I have to do it one more time.
It's the rule of 3.
Right. Right. I mean, it's really, we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. You have to.
No, so the first time I did it with a guy that I had actually been dating for a couple of months. And we had these very lovely dates and great interactions. I'm going to call him Bert. All right.
I like it.
Bert.
Can we call him Buddy Bert?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very appropriate considering where this goes.
Oh.
Um,
For those of you keeping score at home, that's called foreshadowing.
So,
Narrator, everything was not fun.
And then it did not go well.
Love was not achieved.
So we did the questions. We'd been dating for a couple months, and he and I had a relationship that was naturally progressing into what one would consider a boyfriend-girlfriend situation. Like, it was just headed in that direction from my perspective. Great dates, great guy. And I was like, hey, this seems like a pretty natural thing. Why don't we do this? And so I proposed it to Bert. And he said to me, when I proposed it, he's like, I'd love to do it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay, one of Dave's universal law number 5, never challenge worse.
All right.
Ever. Never say it can't get worse. Never say what's the worst that can happen, because that's when the universe looks down upon you and goes, you're cocky, kid. Bam!
I'll tell you.
The universe is like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
That's right.
I got something to take care of. So we do the questions, and it's great. We do the questions. It's takes about 3 hours. It's really intense, and it's very connective. And I wouldn't say it caused love, but I would say it definitely felt like a real kind of emotional breakthrough for the two of us and how we got to know one another.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the questions. One of the questions is about like your view of love and relationships. And his view was that he wanted to date multiple people. And my view is that I'd like to be in a relationship and from there open it up to dating multiple people or, you know, whatever. And when I told him that, he was like, that sounds really great. So I was like, okay, cool. So I think we're kind of...
So it sounded from both answers that you were on
more
the same
or less
page.
on the same page.
Yeah, moving in the right...
Yeah, we're moving in the right
Together
direction.
direction.
And I actually had told him that I wasn't dating anyone else at that point. I wanted to really focus on building something with one person before I start exploring with a bunch of people. And that's just kind of like how I am. So
well, it's kind of like, you know, there's like those what do they call it? The TV, DVD, VCR combo units, and they never get any, and like all three components suck.
And you just use one.
Well, but all three components suck.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to be three different things at once, and you just can't do that.
Right.
So yeah, pick one, do one.
Yeah.
Then figure out, like, then add another component.
Dave, I'm so glad you agree with this. I feel like we've just answered the question together.
Foreshadowing.
So I told him, listen, I'm not dating anyone else. I can't focus on like 5 people at once, and I'd really like to pursue this considering we've been pursuing it for a couple months. Great. Go home. We have fantastic, connective, like really awesome sex. I would say it was like kind of like making love. It was really sweet. And then the last, and I'm giving all these details because I'm going to tell you about the second person I did it with, just to compare and contrast. And then the last exercise in the 36 questions is to stare into one another's eyes for 4 minutes.
This was a Big Bang Theory episode. No, it totally was. I just remembered that. This absolutely was. It was Sheldon and Penny did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So after we have sex, and then he's like, I need to look into your eyes. And he initiates this like stare, which is really, Dave, your face right now.
Like that. Okay.
This is like really intense. And
just picture like a like a post-coital Christopher Walken. What I need to do now is stare into your eyes deeply, lovingly,
yes,
for 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Yes. I wish to God Bert sounded like that. Well, that's going to be his voice from now on.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Bert, narrated by Christopher Walken.
Oh my God.
So we do this at his insistence. It's amazing. It's awesome. Wow, I feel like we've like totally broken through. Laura might actually have a boyfriend or like be moving towards a boyfriend. Rose looks so pissed off right now.
So annoyed with him. I don't like Bert much. Keep
So-
going.
I don't think anyone does like
Nobody
Bert.
likes Bert.
Nobody likes Bert.
So the next week, what happens?
Oh, I was going, and then
I don't hear from him. Like barely at all. Now, Dave, there is a thing among men where they like kind of pull back, right?
It's called breadcrumbing, isn't it? When you like slowly start
pull
of
Don't
back.
men, when they like kind of get
Yep.
emotionally like into something, they're like, "Oh, I'm scared. Let me pull back." You also look confused by this.
I mean, boys do that.
right? Yes, Dave.
That's a good answer, Dave.
Good, Dave.
Very good, Dave.
Dave and I are on the longest date ever.
Gold-
This is the
gold
12th
star,
episode of our
Dave.
date.
Gold star.
That's right, 22 episodes of foreplay. That's what this has been. That's okay.
I think the podcast needs to be renamed from Sexistential Crisis to 22 Shades of
Yes.
Dating.
22 Shades of Laura and Dave. So I barely hear from him, and I'm like, okay, this is really odd. And by Thursday,
Well, especially, okay, in the context of, hey, just had great. See, that's usually, okay, so yes, you'll have the fight or flight thing that happens. We're like, oh, hey, little kid, but
yeah,
oh, but the sex was really good. But okay, a little scared. Oh, wait, but this, it's kind of like watching a dog with a grape. Where
Tell
like,
me
have you ever
more.
seen a dog where like a dog like will pick up a grape like, oh, it's food. Oh, wait,
Poison.
nope, ball. must be played with. Right? Nope, food. Nope, ball.
I I need to find someone's dog and do this immediately.
It's poisonous.
By the
Please
way, I
don't
was
do
going to
that.
say grapes
yeah.
are poisonous to dogs, but
Okay, I don't want to do that with anyone's dog.
anyway, so I was like, this is really odd. So he would sort of be going through the motions of saying good morning and good night, but he wouldn't like really respond to anything else. And I was like, this is just bizarre. It's bizarre behavior. Why haven't you asked me out?
So, like, for clarification, so, like, you had sex before this, I'm assuming. Like,
Many
this was not
times.
the first. Okay, so this was not. So it
New.
wasn't like a hit it and quit it kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
And by that Thursday night, or actually, I had on our date invited him to do something the next Saturday, and I asked him about it later in the week, and I was like, "Hey, are you coming over for this? Like, you haven't confirmed with me." And he's like, "Well, there's something I'd really like to get out of on Saturday, so let me see if I can do this." And I'm like,
No.
"Get out of?"
No. Well, thanks for using me as your get out
Plan
of jail
B.
guy.
Yeah, right. It's very odd.
Ugh, that makes me so angry.
So
You're nobody's plan B.
I agree. So that Dave is still
Yeah.
extremely
Slow blinking.
Dude, Skippy McDouchebag, what the hell?
Saturday comes by.
Wait for it. There's more.
And then.
Saturday comes by. He comes over. I'm having a dinner party. He comes over for the dinner party, and at the very end, Rose is just like, Rose, you have to say what's going on your face.
No, I'm just
The
I was
audience
actually-
can't see it.
So I was there at the dinner party, and
There's
Laura
furrowing
had,
and there's
Yeah.
crunching and there's
Laura
glaring.
had pushed the boat out. We had the most delicious dinner. We were decorating the house for Halloween. We had like melted camembert. It was just completely exquisite.
Okay, there was a phrase there that I'm not familiar with. Pushed the boat out.
Oh, does that not exist
No.
in American? It means like you had really done everything.
You
were,
went
like,
all
the-
out.
Yes.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
The best hostess with the mostess, and Laura's hot, and she's witty, and she's just giving it everything. And then this guy arrives late. He does arrive
Yes,
late,
correct.
which I was trying to, pretend we're all fine with because I didn't want to frazzle anyone. Is that an American?
Yeah.
Frazzle, we're good,
Very
yeah.
good, very good. And honestly, I kind of felt like we knew what was potentially about to happen because he'd sucked all week. He'd sucked
Right.
all week, and he sucked a bit at the dinner party. It's very sad.
So, okay. The dinner party concludes,
It is.
and Rose is really upset about this.
We're all upset. We're all upset.
The dinner party concludes, and he and I are making out, right? And I had said to him, I said, I really missed you this week. Just to like make it clear,
Cool.
I would like, and I said, what happened? Like, what were you up to? And he's like, well, I was really busy working on my fitness goals.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't.
Slow blink. Slow blink.
Dude.
I know. And so I was like, okay, this doesn't feel right. And of
Yeah, no,
course,
skeptical Dave is skeptical.
right. Well, we'll get there, Dave. We'll get there. And then, one of the things I tell any partner before there's an exclusivity stage is I like to know if they're having sex with other people.
What a novel. What shocking. How dare you?
I know. And because you know me, I'm always extremely clear about saying that up front. Please tell me if you're going to have sex with other people. So,
And had you been having sex with other people?
no.
And had you told him that you didn't want him to be having sex with other people if you were going to explore this further?
Not at that point.
Okay.
Not at that point. So we're making.
But I think she did make it clear, like, if you are having sex with some other
If you
people,
are, tell me.
Tell me.
Right.
And-
right.
Yeah.
And certainly I didn't have the impression he
Not
was,
on the back end of things.
so to speak.
So now when he says, I'm just so much foreshadowing. His fitness goals. He was trying to fit this chick into his schedule. That's what he was fitting in.
Yeah. So I'm not about to have sex with, like, something is wrong. And so I stop and I'm like, are you having sex with someone else? And I just ask point blank because
Like right now.
well, he doesn't answer the question. He sort of like evades it a little. And I'm like, no.
Just answer the question.
That's not
Claire.
how this works. So I ask again, and he said, well, I had some free time during the week, presumably between all the fitness goals. And he's like, I met this woman and we went out on a date, and I had sex with her.
Boo.
Bert.
Well, you know what I mean. What I can't do the bird voice.
Bert.
Yeah.
So I met this girl. It's a free time. When I wasn't doing squats.
Right.
I was doing other squats. You know
So
what
what
I'm
happened
But in
saying?
that free
Nora.
time, I couldn't call you.
Right. Exactly.
Dick.
So what I realized is here's my impression then of the 36 questions in the first test was that this guy got completely freaked out by the intimacy that was created and decided to sabotage the relationship. That's my read on what happened.
Oh, guys are dumb. Absolutely. I think I've said this a million times. That's absolutely possible.
Do you have any other?
Hey, this is something good. No, that I'm going to go ahead and screw this up.
Right.
Yeah.
So
No, it's
Oh, so disappointing.
So clearly, so that ended. But I wasn't about to stop there because I wanted to see that
But wait, there's more.
there is more.
For 1995.
I'd like to tell you about the second time I did the 36 questions, and that was with a man we'll call Ernie.
Of course.
So next weekend comes by, and I'm like, okay, I need to do another test of these questions. But this time, I want to take the exact opposite. I want to take someone I literally know nothing about and will not see again and try it. Just see what happens.
So you were walking into this knowing you were never going to see this guy again.
Correct.
No
Okay.
stakes.
So I go on Tinder.
Does he know that you're never going to see him again? Like,
I
what-
mean,
did
I
you
think
say that up
that's-
front?
Okay, well, let me explain why I'm saying that. And I'm saying that because he doesn't live here.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's very, I mean,
Bless you.
Thank you.
we'll get to what I would or would not do in the future, but it was clear he was in town for a couple days. It's kind of clear
Yeah.
what's going on.
Parameters.
Hey, see what happens, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is my opening message to him. I'm looking for a stranger to complete the 36 questions that lead to love with me over several drinks. I understand this is an unusual request, but you're hot, and I'd probably enjoy having sex with you if we got along. You seem like the type who might be up for this sort of adventure. And he agreed.
Oh, yes.
I'm yeah.
Yay.
Dave, are you surprised, or
Yeah, what are you thinking?
would someone crumble under that pressure normally? Or would they step up to the mark?
I'm all in.
All I need to do is send Dave that text.
Foreshadowing.
So I decide to meet this guy at the exact same bar where I did it the last time.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, you did this in a bar.
Yes.
Okay.
Last time we did it in a bar. So I meet this guy in the same bar. I know nothing about him. No, I don't even know where he's from. I just know that he practices ethical non-monogamy, which is important to me because I don't want to date someone who's cheating. And he's really attractive. Great. That's kind of all I need.
Check.
Yeah. So we do the questions. And here's what's really interesting is he was very open to doing them. He'd done them with his girlfriend. And I learned like really interesting things about this guy. I learned about, his father abandoning him and struggling with drug addiction and overcoming it. And that he plays kirtan and does yoga and is probably more right wing than any of us in the room. But it was really it was interesting the things I learned about him.
Okay.
They weren't, what are your favorite movies?
Right.
What do you like
What's
to
the last book you've read?
Right. It was just getting to know this guy on, I think, a much deeper level than you'd ever talk to a stranger. And Rose, I think you asked me how I felt about it in the aftermath, and I was like, well, I kind of feel like a little bit of a camaraderie with him. I don't feel love. I don't even feel like.
So,
Yeah.
if I can jump in, the interesting thing about what you're saying is when I did my research at lunchtime
Yes.
about the study behind this 36 questions, is it was originally done by psychologists who did it in the classroom and specifically matched up students who did not know each other and who often were on the opposite side of demographic,
Really?
exactly, or politics. And what they found was that regardless of similarity or difference, at the end of this people felt very close. So it seems like this kind of method actually has a way of making people close who would not normally find common ground in another way.
I think that's probably true, because I don't know that he and I would have necessarily, I don't know that we would have a relationship, let's say, if we lived in the same city. I think there's probably enough significant differences between us that wouldn't work. However, I did feel, I call it more like a kinship or a camaraderie with him, which was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's very hopeful.
Yeah. And it sounds like you might not have had that same connection if you had just talked about, like, well, who are you voting for?
Yeah,
or,
I probably would have left or something.
Clearly.
Or, I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But at the more surface question level, like, this might not have been someone that you would have stuck around for 3 drinks with.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what we all want to know
Yes.
is, did you indeed then go on to have sex?
Well, Rose happens to know the answer to this question because I woke everyone in the house up.
Because we live together.
And I don't live with Laura, but I heard it from Ferndale.
So
Sounded great.
let me describe the sex. It was nothing like with the guy I'd been dating for 2 months. Like, whereas I felt the questions really fostered more intimacy and a more kind of a love-making type of sex, this was like just animalistic fucking. Like, there was nothing.
Yes, it was.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, no, it was really fun. It was great, but it was interesting, like,
The contrast.
the contrast. And these questions can't, I think they can manufacture some sort of closeness to some way, but not in others. Or maybe you need to have more foundation. Rose, you have something to say. Yes, Rose.
I did my research. So I think what the science of love, which is apparently a whole field of psychology, says that this is one of the 3 things that they know can really bring people to feel romantic love for each other, which is interconnectedness or closeness. The other one that can lead people to feel romantic love for each other is going through a physically arousing experience together, like something, almost jumping off a bridge or something like that can really bring people together.
Hey, the plane's crashing. No, it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, the third one, which is quite relevant here, is responsiveness to that level of openness and intimacy. So what you did is kind of gradual, kind of opening up to each other. But then what's really, really necessary afterwards, and I think this gets back to Bert and how that failed, is then the other one being there to support that kind of new intimacy that you've created.
You're talking about Ernie.
I'm talking about Bert.
Bert,
So I'm
who
talking
was
about the
not
fact that he
able
then
to support.
Exactly, he then disappeared, which is that kind of next element of love that's missing, which is you open up, you're intimate, you're very vulnerable, but then you need the other person to be there to catch you.
See, it
Right.
brings us right back to the bondage episode.
So-
It's all about the aftercare.
So you jumped out of the
It's
plane
all about the
together.
aftercare, yeah.
Yeah, you jumped out of the plane together, but there was no parachute.
Or
from
like
Bert.
we both, right.
Yeah.
Or I had my own and he flew off
Exactly.
in his own direction.
Yeah.
So this guy, lots of fun. If I were in his city, would I message him? Yeah, I probably would. Why not? I mean, it was fun.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, that was really that was a great time. This dude ate my ass. Yeah, sorry, Emery. It's just like, I gotta go. It was really fun. Like, are you gonna be okay?
I'm good.
Sounds great. I mean, it did sound great because I heard it. Sounded great.
It sounded fantastic.
He also broke the bed twice,
Oh, yes.
and I have now ordered a new one. So,
Day 53 without sex.
I mean, that's nothing, girl.
no, I just want to say
Yeah.
one final thing, which is interesting because even though this was very clearly a one-night stand or casual encounter, the next day, Ernie was more thoughtful and present than the other one in terms of saying, hey, I had a great time. Thank you so much. That was really, fun. And it was a really very sweet kind of goodbye notes,
Yeah.
and I appreciated that because, yeah, it is really a goodbye and that's okay. But I found that contrast so interesting between one person who just runs and
Right.
the other one who's like, well, I'm leaving, but let me make sure that I've left on good terms.
Right, especially with the contrast being from Bert, where you thought you had already gone into a deeper pool of closeness and togetherness, and to have him have the reverse reaction
Yeah.
is obviously disappointing.
It
and-
sucks.
Yeah, it
But,
sucks.
you know.
It's upsetting.
It probably accelerated things, don't you
I think it
Yeah.
did. I think it was.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, Rose. That like maybe it pushed him into figuring out what he was willing to express sooner rather than later. So I guess
Yeah,
better that you
absolutely.
found that out now. So it's interesting. I think before we got on air, I was saying to the ladies here, like I'm been semi-reluctantly, not really, but trying to dip back into the dating again.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been since you told me about the 36 questions. I've been, throwing one of them out here
Yeah.
and there, guys. It's sort of interesting because it is like a deeper kind of question, or just different. Like one guy asked, like, "Oh, who would you have over for dinner?" And he said, "My dad," not because I thought he was a hero, but because I want to confront him with the man that I've become.
Wow.
And I thought confront was
Yes.
such a telling word. And I was like, oh, you're trouble.
You have
you're gonna be
closure
fun,
issues.
but you're trouble. So, I thought it was.
That's really interesting.
so
that's
that
really
word
interesting.
right there just told me so much
Yeah.
that I needed to know.
I
about
would
the guy.
encourage everyone to look at the questions and then if you, why not sprinkle them in? They're really interesting. And I think if you have to be willing to answer the question you're going to ask though.
For sure.
Okay.
What
Dave's-
is
Dave's
going
pulling out a
on?
bar from underneath the table, a bar we never knew existed until now.
I like how subtle it happened. Just
We look over, there's suddenly
like
ha-
3
of
bottles of
surprises.
liquor.
So I have another interesting tidbit of information.
of
from my
course.
research.
Yes, tell us everything now, Rose. Everything.
No, I won't tell you everything. But this is kind of romantic, and it's nice to have a happy note too. Is that in that original psychology class that these psychologists did when they first tested out the 36 questions, 2 of their students who they paired together who didn't know each other actually got married 6 months later.
Wow.
And invited everyone in the lab to their wedding. And that is actually a true story. I just read a blog from one of the the doctors who did the research and confirming it. So I think that's kind of
amazing.
sweet. Right.
Like I mean, I love that. Rose, would you do the questions?
So I have done the questions. I was in a relationship already. And I actually think the questions, it turns out, are designed for people who don't know each other very well. And to kind of escalate that degree of intimacy. I think we probably already had the intimacy. In my case, in the relationship where I did it, that kind of key of responsiveness that I was talking about was not there, so that I didn't feel contained. I didn't feel like I felt like I was exposing myself in a very vulnerable way, and I didn't feel like the person opposite me
Was catching you.
was catching that and was taking it seriously, which is weird because he'd actually wanted to do it in the first place. But again, you learn a lot. I think you learn a lot. It's not a bad thing.
I love it.
Yeah, and I haven't done it yet, but I think it would be also interesting, and Laura and I have talked about this, is doing it with just a friend.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that would be
I
really
think it's
cool.
very applicable to friendship because you really do. I mean, I have many close friends who I would still have a lot of questions, unanswered questions if I asked them these. It's not like I know all this. So, yeah, I thought that was just really awesome. And, maybe we could have a lady date
I think that would be really fun.
and do it. I think it'd be really
Yeah.
cool.
And Dave.
And Dave, absolutely.
He's passing around
Dave's
shots
passing
as we
around.
speak.
It's Baron Yeager. They're fine.
It's very, very soft and mild.
So, I was trying to think of when I was thinking about this episode because I know. Thank you, Dave. All right,
Thanks, Dave.
I've got some alcohol here. More alcohol.
What is this, by the way, that I'm about to put in my mouth?
If I had $1 for every time I heard.
As I was saying, I was
No,
like, oh,
it's Baron Yeager, so it's bourbon and honey. And actually, this is the reason why we
that's so
keep this in the
delicious.
studio It's because if you ever have like a little tickle in your throat or anything like that, one shot of this, gone. You're
Really?
fine for like the next hour.
Oh, really?
That's
like-
that's honestly why I keep it in the studio.
I like
I
both
should
bourbon
probably
and honey.
buy a bottle
so
of this.
this
So
sounds
cheers.
amazing.
Oh, cheers.
I'm going to sip it. Very good.
Oh, that's very good.
Oh, I like
That is
that.
excellent.
See, I have my uses.
Thank you, Dave.
Things are about to go off the rails, I can tell.
No.
So the reason I was trying to think, like, I don't like to do an episode without having kind of like a moral of the story. Like, what are we trying to share with? I mean, yeah, it's an interesting experience.
So-
Yes, I think you should do it. But what's the moral of the story here?
So for me, and I actually just had this conversation with someone earlier this week, not just in a more business, for lack of a better word, context, about vulnerability. Like when you are vulnerable with someone, it makes you just feel that that person is more approachable, and that you can also be yourself. It invites a sort of human response of, because I think as people we can get very intimidated by what other people are curating about their lives and showing out there, that you can have this sense of this person is amazing and killing it and doing a lot
Because of what you see on like Facebook or Instagram. Or
And this person that I was talking to about this, he had asked someone a question, and that person responded to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm figuring it out. Like,
Right.
And he said, to hear that was like, wow. It just made him feel like, it just, made him feel that, oh,
you're not
okay,
alone.
then
Yeah.
I'm doing everything right,
Right.
too. Like we're all
We're
just
all
figuring it out. And I think that is what the questions for me shows in, just what I'm hearing, what
Yeah.
you relate, what I would expect to find in approaching it with anyone of, we're all just figuring it out and doing the best we can, fumbling through this life.
Right.
And
Be a
finding
little-
our own
I
happiness.
also feel like be compassionate.
Right.
I mean, even though I'm disappointed with what happened with
Bert.
Bert, I mean, I do have compassion for the guy.
Mhm.
Clearly he's been through, and I know this, has been through quite a bit.
Mhm.
And like most men,
But haven't we all?
We all
well,
have.
but
though.
like most men,
Take a number.
they haven't they haven't dealt with it. Men don't process through emotions like women because they don't have
Plug emotional labor episode.
right. Go
Mhm.
back to I think it's
No,
episode
we
6.
put it in a box. We seal the box. We put the box in the closet, and we worry about it when we move it.
do
the
not
next few
open.
times.
Do not open till Christmas.
Do not open. No, do not open box. ever.
Right, but then you get triggered
lose this box.
and then it kind of like
Oh, no,
flies open.
It does because like I used to be the worst at this. Like I would just let crap build, and then somebody would walk by me and be like, "Pff, nice shirt," and I'd like throw them into a wall.
Wow.
So I learned that was not appropriate behavior.
Right. Dave,
And
good,
so-
good Dave.
wow,
so
those
you
are really fantastic shoes. Ooh, ooh.
Well, no, that was fine. No, it was a. No, it's the sarcasm. Like just that one.
So what did you do?
I just started handling shit. Like it's, like we joke about it. Like Bob and I are essentially an old married couple. Like
That is true.
there's nothing. Well, I won't say nothing. There's very little he and I don't know about each other. And I mean, we do. I mean, we sit around and talk about all kinds of crazy shit.
So
and
he's like your buddy though.
and you
that-
need to have that
Yes.
guy
That's
friend
great.
because
You
like
need a guy friend like
you've,
that.
You've got to have that guy that I mean, dude, we've been friends for 20 friggin' years.
Yeah.
We've got 3 different businesses going and all that kind of crap. We might as well be sleeping together, But I mean, it's you need that. Like, and guys do. They have a very hard time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think up until like their mid 30s. I think because it's all about the I'm tough. I don't need nothing. I'm good. I mean, and so they don't even think that like they don't even think that's an option. And then finally, like one day, you just get like drunk as hell and be like, dude, I got to talk some shit out. Like, I'll buy.
Yeah.
Hang with me.
But
Yeah.
that's I think a fairly mature way to do it because that's what women do. We
Yeah.
have our women. We go
Mhm.
talk to them. Rose, I know you have a lot to say about that.
About what we're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking it's wonderful that Dave is doing that with a male friend because so often, in my experience, guys come into relationships and like just dump all their
Yes.
shit on whatever female, partner
Right
they
on the woman.
have.
Yeah.
And then we have to deal with it. And sometimes it's also in sort of angry, violent outbursts that
Mhm.
we have to deal. So we're not managing just their temper and their past and their emotional beings, but we're also managing our security, our safety.
Right.
Yeah.
And how safe would you feel to talk to someone or even develop intimacy in a relationship where you have to be worried about someone's reaction because they could turn on a dime.
So so like in the peppering of questions on a recent date, I asked a guy like just about his past relationship of like when was the last time that you felt that you were in an intimate relationship, like a real, like not just dating relationship. And the guy kind of got upset and excused himself and laughed and like then came back and was like, okay, I'm done crying now. And I was like,
oh my God.
and then he was kind of like, he's like, well, you just pushed me into answering that question. And I was like, I mean, I was just trying to get the lay of the land.
Pushed you.
And so that again was like, okay, that, but so that
You have blue hair by any chance?
no, but it's like that clearly stuff that he hadn't dealt with in his own Bob friendship, whomever that may be. So
Even if he had that person.
if he has that, but it was like, well, I can't take that on. Like you gotta figure that out.
Yeah. I think that's why, as I know we've discussed a lot among ourselves, it's so important for women to be very, very comfortable being single because I have certainly had a propensity to try and go fix men, take on projects.
We're all drinking.
Everyone,
You know how we all just picked up our like,
But that's
relatable.
and I'm not saying like someone has to come into a relationship being perfect. Nobody's perfect.
So my favorite line for a song, and I'm sorry, I've been, you know me, I'm listening to either 80s on 8 or First Wave. The Pretenders have a song where the very first line is "Nobody's perfect, not even a perfect stranger."
Right.
Right, and it's not that we expect, because we all are constantly going to have things, but I just want to know that, are you trying to unpack that? Are you seeing that in yourself, and you are developing some tools to be healthy about it?
Totally. That's all.
That's
we
all.
Need. That's all we need.
Because I am, and that's what I would expect in a partner. Of like, look, I'm trying to
Are
not
you
bring my.
adulting?
I'm
Like,
adulting.
That's what it really, like, are you adulting, or are you
I'm
still
adulting
like
today.
Are
a
you going to have
man-child?
temper tantrums like
Yeah.
a 4-year-old?
And
It's
have to go
totally
cry
okay
in
to
the
have
bathroom.
problems, but know how to deal with it
Exactly.
without having to throw and foist
Yeah.
everything on your partner.
Go cry in the bathroom, but then don't come back and be like, well, this is your fault.
Right.
No.
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 Certainly.
Again, I can't even relate. I got nothing.
Any closing remarks?
I do.
Yes, Rose.
Because if it's the 36 questions that lead to love,
Mm-hmm.
it had me. I'm not going to go too deep into this. Don't worry. But it had me thinking about like how we define love and what that is. And I was thinking it's trust and it's respect, which is kind of like trust is in those 36 questions. Respect, not necessarily. And there was another third point that's completely.
I mean,
escaped my
there is a
mind.
respect for their experiences.
Choice. That was the key one.
Choice.
So and that's the one that's missing from this. I mean, you can choose to be there in the moment, but I think especially as you start adulting, as Dave puts it, you have to choose to be there in a loving way. And so you're going to both choose to then, keep on doing this or whatever it is.
Well, and I'll be honest. Like I think it's mislabeled. I don't think it's the questions that lead to love. It might be the questions that lead to intimacy,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
but not necessarily love. I mean, it led you.
I
to,
do agree.
It led you to a walk off and a great sport fuck, but
Yeah.
not love.
But you're right.
Greater
So like,
understanding.
Yeah.
like if Laura and I did it, like I already love
Oh my
her.
God.
So it's. But
Who
it
knows
would be,
what could happen?
It would
Shade
be
Heat 3.
foreshadowing. But yeah, it would just be like,
I'm just gonna keep pouring shots. Don't mind.
would
me.
it? Does it? I mean, because Laura and I are very different, as everyone knows. But I think that we have this mutual respect of each other's
Absolutely.
position, and I think doing an exercise like this would just reveal greater understanding. And
I
more,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely greater understanding of like, where are you coming from?
yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's wonderful for building that muscle, and I think it's really taught me certainly like people do to be more compassionate. People do have stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff we don't know about in the people that we encounter, even just day to day. And just keep that in mind. If like you meet someone who's having a bad day,
Right.
you don't know what happened to them.
Nope.
Like you don't know. And try to be gentle.
They could be hanging on by the ragged edge of their
Yes.
fingernails for all you know.
That's really true. They really, really could be. And, just try to go easy.
Speaking of ragged edge of fingernails, I feel remiss.
Yes. Is that a band?
I don't know.
Is that a line from the song?
No. I feel remiss that I have not yet pointed out that you totally bailed out on the kink ball.
Oh, you know what, Dave? Okay, so Dave, thanks for ruining that. Because
I still have that studded bra that has to be used at some point.
I just spent 2 hours today editing that out of the last episode. So I'm so glad you brought it up. So now I have to edit this out of this episode.
When was this kink ball?
2 Saturdays ago.
And did you go?
Yes, did you go, Dave?
Of course.
Did you ask
We
Laura to
sponsored
be
it.
your date?
No.
You need to be more frontal, Dave.
I think Laura has frontal covered.
Look at these.
So much coverage.
I've got a lot of coverage.
So let's see. Did I specifically ask her no? Did I? Was I willing to completely rearrange and complicate my life in order to bring all the remote gear and all that other
Wait a
crap?
minute, Dave.
Because all of a sudden Laura wanted to record
Wait
there.
a minute. No. Wait,
He's
Dave.
saving you.
Hang on.
Okay.
No,
hang
I'm
on.
not Captain Save-A-Ho. That's not me. No,
Such
I'm
pussy.
also not a hoe.
and she's also not a hoe.
Oh, right, sorry.
Dave, you told me you were setting up audio there.
Of course, I told you that.
So Dave is lying to me. That's not the foundation
Maybe that's
of
not
a
what you
strong
take.
relationship.
No, that's not.
That's not
That
what
was
he's
not a lie.
I like them.
That was not a lie. That was what do you need, Laura?
We're
I'm
like
there
the
for you.
background
Well,
singers,
your
like, trying
your
to get
logo
this
was
thing.
on
Right?
the event.
Yeah, because we were sponsoring it.
Okay. Well,
That doesn't mean I was going to set up my crap
All right.
there.
So
this
Nobody
is-
else was recording there.
Well, next
Well,
year. Maybe by
yeah,
then
maybe
you'll have
next
finished
year.
the 22
Next year.
episodes and we'll be able to move on to the next stage.
There's another one in February.
Oh, great. Oh, is that an
Cheers.
invitation,
Cheers.
Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
there it is. There
I got it.
It is. I think with that, I think we should.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of Sexistential
Thanks
Crisis.
for having us.
I'm so glad you guys were here, you ladies and Dave.
And Dave.
And if you like this episode, please go into your favorite podcasting listening app. We are on Spotify. We are on Stitcher. We are on iTunes. We're probably on other things. So go check that. What?
Five
Everywhere
stars.
fine podcasts are sold.
Yeah.
That's our standard line.
Wait, just say that again. I'll just.
It's everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Thank you. And
5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars. I don't want 4. I don't want 3. I want 2. I want 5. Oh, one more thing I have to tell the audience. On Wednesday, October 17th, if you would like to meet me or be in my presence, I have a feeling the only people that listen to this are my friends anyway. Join me at Hunt Street Station in Eastern Market. That is a co-working station where I will be giving a talk on the Introvert's Guide to Flirting.
Can't wait.
It's in the evening on
so good.
October 17th.
I'm gonna need a printable version.
Maybe, Dave,
'cause you know we
maybe
did-
you should quote unquote
with me.
sponsor that event.
I'm just saying. I mean, we did the Flirting for Geeks panel at PenguinCon.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most amazing panels we've ever done
Mm-hmm.
because apparently Bob and I were the only guys that could find that had actually been with girls. But
And that was male oriented.
no,
It was for
no,
everyone.
no, Flirting for Geeks, and it was. I mean, it was actually, honestly, thinking back, the room was probably 60-40 women.
Okay.
Wow.
And it was hilarious and it was a lot of fun to the point where, and I think I've told this story before, but I can't remember.
You did.
When we're done with the panel, Bob and I are because we. Obviously, there's a table in front of us. There were drinks because that's what we do. We funny story. TEDx in a minute. We get done. We grab our drinks. We're walking down, and we get to the door, and this just knockout stops us, and says, "Hey, I'm going to be getting naked in my room later and lit on fire. You guys are amazing. Would you like to come?"
Goodness.
I look at Bob. Bob looks at me. yup. And so we went and watched this girl get her room on fire. But no, it's a thing.
great.
Like, so we did TEDx Detroit, and we had to have drinks. Like, we got there at 1 o'clock, like they said to, and we weren't going on until 4.
Okay.
And so we walked over to Temple Bar and had a couple drinks, got ourselves in the proper mindset, and
Yep.
life was good.
Is that
That's
the
awesome.
secret for geeks to dating?
Is
have a
that
few
the
drinks?
secret? Drinking?
Well, it's well, you have to. There's a thing called the Balmer effect.
Okay.
Where like once you hit like it's true. Once you hit like 0.07 to 0.09, that's where you're at like peak creativity, and you're at like peak you're at peak you, and you've got like you're like so like some of the depressant has kicked in, so like you like some of those inhibitions have gone down a little bit, and you're not quite as shy around people, and so it's a thing. That's why we've built our networking group is geeks drinking networking, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
I'm sorry, I
All
totally
right.
sidebarred.
I gotta
No,
check
it's
this
great.
out. Okay.
All
gotta
right, guys.
bounce.
Okay, thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bloop.